More and more Americans aren't returning to work, and I think this is a big problem. I'll tell you why and then what we need to do about it as a society. Let's take a snapshot of where we stand right now. We have 10 plus million jobs available in this country, but only just a bit over 8 million people who are unemployed. So there are a lot of jobs out there, a lot more jobs than there are people who are actually looking for work. So why aren't they looking for work? I think there's two main reasons. First, I think that a lot of people don't have a point in it, meaning it's pointless. I don't need to work. I think the obvious answer is financially they don't need it because they are part of a family unit or a partnership or a marriage where they don't need the money. The only thing that would be tied to the work is a paycheck. They don't need it, so there it is. It's pointless. But I think the other reason that we've seen coming out of the pandemic is that a lot of people decided, since I don't need the paycheck, I'd rather make a contribution somewhere else. It also could be a large amount of Americans are stay-at-home moms who are working. This is the hardest job in the world, but they have chosen, along with their partner, their spouse, to spend this valuable time in the home. And so again, a traditional job is pointless. In other words, the contribution outside of a traditional job is greater than the contribution with a traditional job. So it is pointless. The second group is sad in that they are hopeless. Society has told them for decades that a college degree is the only way to be successful. And so companies bought into this. And so there were jobs over here that paid more that required a degree. And then there were jobs over here that didn't pay as much, but they didn't require a degree. And so it became a separation of the classes. Degree, no degree. And so this message was effectively putting a lid on these Americans. And a lot of these Americans are these 7 million men that I was addressing earlier. So culture told them, you have a lid on your potential. Now they believe it. And so they reach the point where they say, I can't go any higher than this job and this pay. And that discouragement, disillusionment has settled in. And so they just said, you know what? I'd rather be at home, be supported by someone else, get the dopamine hit from the video games or Netflix all day long. And they've retreated to the cave because they're ashamed of who they aren't. And so this is the hopeless. They just don't believe that the degree, the time and money associated with this challenge is worth the effort because they don't actually think it's possible. In other words, they see a better future tied to their job as a mountain that is not climbable. So this is a massive problem. Because on one hand, we have people that can contribute and should contribute, but don't want to contribute because they're comfortable. On the other hand, we have people who can and should contribute, but they just simply don't believe that they can. So what do we do about this? I think we have a perspective problem of work in this culture because work has been sold to us as a utilitarian function. I work in order to get a paycheck. So my whole goal is to do good enough of a job to not get fired. Now, let me just say this. I don't believe that everybody has this view of work, but I'm saying this is the starting point by which our school children and then high schoolers begin to see work, and then they move from high school to college or trade school, and they see work as, I just have to get a job, and I just have to be good enough to keep the paycheck rolling in. There's not a whole lot of meaning and heart in that process, is there? Of course not. So we don't see work as a contribution. We see it as just execution of a list of tasks that are required for me to be able to live. So we lose sight of this fact that if you look at the great psychologists, they've studied the meaning that we get from work, and the meaning leads to wellness, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being when we see I'm good at this task, I enjoy this task, and I can see a connection to the results of the work. And that is what is happening in the soul level when we begin to see, wait a second, I am unique. I can make a contribution. Viktor Frankl, the great psychologist who wrote In Search of Meaning, tied work to our well-being in that we are creative beings. We all have our unique way of creating, and we are relational beings. And so when we can see that we've created a result that matters to someone else, even a stranger, you know this to be true, our sense of worth rises. And there are untold psychological, physical, spiritual, and emotional results from that sense of meaning. And thus the book was entitled In Search of Meaning. So I think we've got to stop looking at work through the career lens. I would say that Gen Z, I think, is leading this direction. I think a lot of younger millennials have led us in this direction where they don't think in terms of working in the same career path for decades on end. They're very open to moving from job to job to job, and they are in search of meaning. They are looking for that job that ties to their values. Bravo to this younger generation, because they get right what previous generations didn't get right. And so we've got to bottle this up, and we ourselves and our institutions, the way we talk about work in our homes, it must be more about contribution instead of career. You're not going to work at any job anymore for 30 to 40 years. It's not going to happen. It doesn't exist. And then secondly, I think we need to think about our contribution at work as something that benefits us personally, first and foremost, by understanding that when I show up and I do something that I enjoy, I do something that I'm good at, and I'm creating a result that I care deeply about, this is going to benefit me personally, as I mentioned earlier. And then to understand that it has a collective need. We need people who are on the sidelines right now to get back in the game, to solve problems, to meet needs. And then third, we've got to create an atmosphere in this world where people believe that that dream is doable. The dream job has now been turned into this unicorn that is an impossible fantasy that we wish for, but we know there's no chance it's going to happen. And I think that is false. Never before in our world have we seen the ability to speed up our progress through technology and all of the ways that we can learn through technology, through connections. We're more connected than we've ever been before. So the idea that you can actually do the work on some level that you want to do is absolutely possible. And so we have got to believe that I still have time. Now, if I was 30, can I do as much if I'm in my 30s as I am in my 70s? No. But can we still do it? The answer is yes. Can we do work that is meaningful to us? So some of you are watching this and listening to this, and you're going, this makes total sense to me, Ken, but I feel like I'm at the base of the mountain, or I'm at the base of several mountains, and I'm trying to figure out what is that work that matters deeply to me. You must get clear. You must get clear on what it is that you do well. I've mentioned this just a few times in passing already, but I want to lock in on this. Your talents can turn into really amazing, sharpened skills. The things that you've always done well, that have come easy for you, you can harness that through training and practice and become very skillful. That's what you do best. You need to be clear on that. You also need to be clear on the type of work that just fires you up. You look forward to it. Is the work solving a problem? What specific problem is it? Is the work meeting a desire? What is that desire? As we begin to get clear on how our heart and head can visualize work that we would really enjoy doing, all of a sudden it leads us to ultimately what drives all of us, the contribution that we want to make. What are the results of that work? What are the results of those skills that you've developed? And you see, I'm contributing these results to make the world a better place, even if it's just in my zip code. Getting clear is the key to understanding what your contribution could be, should be, and must be. And I've created an assessment called the Get Clear Assessment that in 20 minutes can give you a self-awareness that will lead to tremendous confidence and direction just by simply knowing how you are uniquely wired. Knowing what you do well, knowing what you love to do, and knowing about the results that motivate you is a game changer. It's waiting for you right now, and I'm here to help. I want you to live a life that you can look back upon and reminisce about, not live a life that you look back on and regret. If this video encouraged you today, will you like this video? Will you share it with someone else that you think it will encourage? And then will you subscribe to our channel so I can bring more of this content to you?